Hollow Knight is well known for being a game with extensive lore, creating an intricate world full of mystery and intrigue. And for a game which is so vast in its deeper stories, what is the first thing you see? A simple poem. Now yes, if you've played this game before and understand its lore, then you will understand what this poem is and what it means. But do you understand how the writer has subtly used language to convey the grand narrative of Hallownest? Do you understand the deeper themes and issues presented? Do you understand what it truly means? In this video, I will be analysing the Ode to Hallownest to an overly absurd degree, to discover what secrets it holds and to see what we can learn about the kingdom of Hallownest from a short little poem. Okay, so just a quick heads up, this is an over-analysis, like an English lesson type of analysis, so don't expect everything I waffle on about to be lore-based. And also, I'm using the full version of the poem which was cut from the final game, because it will make a more interesting video. TLDR, this is just trying to be a fun, goofy, entertaining video, and just take what I say with a grain of salt, okay? Okay. First of all, let's begin with the reading. In worlds beyond they speak your name with reverence and regret, for none could tame our savage souls, yet you the challenge met. Under palest watch you taught we changed, base instincts were redeemed, a world you gave to bug and beast as they had never dreamed. Our cherished dreams you granted and delivered more, but in dismay you found too late our desires had no end. What cost to tame our savagery, you gave your all and then gave more, yet desires still lay unquenched, your dreams remained, your energy spent. Amongst it sprang a dreadful scourge that forced return our aggressive urge and turned us back to beasts or husks, our souls consumed by light above. Within your corpse can still be heard the plaintive cries of one who took our pain and loss and dreams inside itself too. Through its pain we found a truth that now must be confessed, for nothing can contain such things but perfect emptiness. When we go through literary works, it's often a good idea to begin with The writer of this poem is Monomon the teacher. Monomon is an intelligent scholar, which is evident from our title, The Teacher, as well as her domain being the teacher's archives, which houses and preserves her research and Hallownest's knowledge. In the event of the games, she is advocate for change despite the risks and harm it can bring, which is highlighted through her desire to break the seals which bind the dreamers, believing it will lead to a better end, despite sacrificing her own life to do so and not knowing what that end actually may be. She also respects the Pale King to an extent, as although she did not actively volunteer herself to become a dreamer, she also, to the best of our knowledge, didn't ask for something in return, unlike Hera. Also, due to her involvement in the Pale King's plan, she did know of the Radiance and the vessels born of Void, which is evident from her dialogue with the other dreamers. This is all to say that she seems to think well of the Pale King, as she doesn't raise any concern with the Pure Vessel project, so to speak. This comes through very clearly in her writing. I also think it would be a good idea to briefly talk about the key themes. One major theme is power, from the Pale King feeling omnipotent to losing it all and a new power rising in a grand and tragic power struggle. Another major theme is greed. The issues of Hallownest were caused by greed and endless dreams, but its solution was its absence. I am now going to go through a line-by-line analysis and highlighting language and structural techniques used as well as their effect, and why Monomon has done this as well as the effect as a reader. Firstly, the Pale King is spoken of in Worlds Beyond. This highlights how the Pale King was known beyond just Hallownest, emphasizing the glory of Hallownest in contrast to the other bug colonies and civilizations. This idea is also reinforced in game, where bugs are said to have come from afar in a pilgrimage towards Hallownest. This portrays the Pale King as being an almighty figure. However, this immediately contrasts with the idea of his name being spoken with reverence and regret. This conveys that the Pale King may in fact be a tragic character, a god with a fatal flaw. The use of alliteration helps to put emphasis on this, which is important for the reader as the statement provides a brief overview of the rest of the poem and the direction it will take. Next, the bugs before Hallownest are described as being savage souls. This connotes the idea of the bugs being feral monsters or wild beasts. This presents the old bugs before Hallownest as being very primal and primitive. The use of alliteration is used to emphasize this point. In addition, it is said that none could change this, and yet you the challenge met. This shows the true might of the Pale King, as he was able to do what was believed to be impossible for any bug to do. Monomon may have done this to present him as being unnatural and a godly force, and also having a heroic character, as he was able to liberate the bugs from their own feeble minds. The Pale King is said to provide palest watch to the kingdom of Hallownest. The adjective palest connotes with white, purity and holiness, which highlights the strong extent to which the bugs of Hallownest perceive the Pale King as a godly being. The impacts of the Pale King are clearly outlined by the tricolon, "You taught, we changed, based instincts were redeemed," which emphasizes how the Pale King greatly affected the lives of the bugs. The use of the verb taught implies that the Pale King was able to easily educate the minds of bugs to higher thought, suggesting it was an easy process for the Pale King. It could also imply that having greater thought is similar to having a greater understanding of the world, possibly even being similar to an enlightenment. Furthermore, the verb redeemed presents as having a savage mind as being akin to a fault or sin. I believe this could also highlight how bugs saw those without thought as being sinful or tainted. Monomon describes the Pale King as giving a world to bugs, which emphasizes the great extent to which the Pale King truly impacted the lives of those in his kingdom. The phrase "never dreamed" conveys the might of the Pale King, and how overwhelming it must have been for them to witness the Pale King in action, as he is able to do things beyond their imagination and greatly change their views on the world by giving them higher thought. The bugs' dreams are described as being cherished, which conveys the significance and importance of dreams in the world of Hollow Knight, and how integral they are to the world. The word "more" suggests that he went beyond their wildest dreams and achieved something even greater. This highlights how glorious the kingdom of Hallownest was in its peak, and how there's pretty much nothing like it in the rest of the world, but our knowledge on this may change when Silksong releases. The adjective dismay presents the Pale King as being very human, so to speak, as it emphasizes the great care he had for his kingdom and its citizens, as he finds its issues greatly troubling. The phrase "desires had no end" may be a reference to the basic economic problem, which involves finding the best way to use scarce resources to satisfy the unlimited wants of people. The idea of unlimited wants could relate to the idea of greed, and could highlight how even the most powerful entity is unable to compete with the innate primal greed which may have still been retained by the bugs even after they gained higher thought. The use of the specific word "cost" may be an allusion to the famous phrase "no cost too great," and foreshadows the desperate actions the Pale King will have to take in order to preserve his kingdom. This is reinforced by the phrase "gave your all and then gave more," as he is willing to do whatever it takes to save Hallownest. There may be some bias from Monomon, however I don't think this is so considering the lengths he went to in order to prevent the events of the game. The frequent repetition of the word "more" ties back to the theme of greed and highlights that this was Hallownest's downfall. The phrase "desires laid unquenched" again may refer to the unlimited wants of people in society. In addition, the fact that this caused the Pale King to have his energy spent highlights how the Pale King may in fact be a tragic character with a fatal flaw. The Pale King is presented as being someone who is thought to be godlike, however was ultimately too weak and was powerless to satisfy the basic economic problem, and caused the downfall of Hallownest. The verb "sprang" connotes with a rapid jump or bound out, highlighting how rapidly the infection spread throughout Hallownest and how quickly Hallownest fell to ruin. The use of the noun scourge to describe the infection has been used to indicate how destructive and vile the infection was to Hallownest citizens. This line also implies that Hallownest's never-ending desires was what caused the infection in the first place, and greed was what caused the tragic fall of Hallownest. The idea of the Radiance forcing the return of Bug's aggressive urge is very interesting to me, as it implies that the Radiance is being quite petty and cruel towards the Pale King, as she is taking away everything that the Pale King had built up and fundamentally uneducating the minds of Bugs, reverting them back to their beastly versions, as a way to get revenge for the Pale King taking away everything the Radiance had, mainly being her worshippers. This also clearly outlines the brutal reality of being a higher being, and having to compete with other divine forces who want to take everything away from you. Here, the phrase beasts or husks references an earlier part of the poem, which refers to Bug and Beast. This transition shows how the inhabitants of Hallownest are merely a shell of the former selves, and have been reduced to something worse than their lives before, showing the harmful consequences of their greed. Being real, this line is pretty weak, but the verb consumed does highlight how powerless the Bugs were to the Radiance's control, as their souls were taken so effortlessly and are compared to something as basic as eating. The Radiance being described as the light above portrays the Radiance as being pure or godlike, very similarly to the Pale King. This could highlight the duality between two similar yet different divine powers. These next couple of lines are actually kinda confusing, and I might have completely misinterpreted the following lines, so I'd generally like to hear your interpretation of these in the comments below. I believe that the corpse could be referring to the cast-off shell in the Kingdom's Edge, since chronologically I think it would make more sense for the dreamers to be sealed, and therefore the poem being written before the Pale King's death. However, I find it unlikely that the cast-off shell is still linked to the Pale King in this way, and so therefore, I believe the word corpse is referring to the Pale King being dead inside and feeling empty during these tough times. The metaphor of the plaintive cries could be the Pale King feeling wronged, or that an act of injustice has occurred, as a plaintiff is someone who brings a case against someone in court. Of one is just referring back to the Pale King, representing how all of this pain is his, and highlighting how he felt the most pain in the kingdom. The use of the tricolon, pain, loss, and dreams, creates a semantic field of failure and hopelessness, highlighting the strong sense of defeat felt by the Pale King at the ruin of Hallownest. Inside itself could convey how the Pale King has had to bear the majority of the pressure and pain of the kingdom's downfall. The Pale King being referred to as itself dehumanizes the Pale King and conveys how all of this weight and pressure is taking a massive toll on him and destroying him. I'm honestly quite unsure what the ellipse is for and why the poem is cut off, or if it even actually isn't and I'm missing something, so please just let me know. The phrase through its pain could represent how the Pale King only discovered this due to and during a time of great anguish, or perhaps that it pained him to conduct the vessel experiments. I personally believe that the first interpretation is more likely to be accurate, as I don't think the Pale King would feel such agony due to the previous references of him being a corpse. The fact that the discovery of void and vessels are described as a truth adds to the religious imagery, as it appears as something holy or divine. However, the idea of a confession juxtaposes this, as it connotes to the idea of sin. The idea of containing is directly referring to the vessels being made to seal away the radiance, like we see at the ending cutscenes. The phrase perfect emptiness also relates to what we already know about the void, being the embodiment of darkness and mindlessness. It is also important how the poem ends on emptiness, which emphasizes how a complete absence and nothingness was used to defeat greed and desire. In reality though, I think this is incorrect, as you can live a life without wants without having to forego everything else, which could suggest how the Pale King was desperate, as he went to the extremist solution to fix his problem. Overall, I find this to be a tragic tale of a divine and all-powerful man's dream to create something truly beautiful, only to fall from grace and witness it crumbling down due to the inert greed found in the awakened minds of the bugs of the kingdom and also himself, and the desperate lengths he went to in order to grasp onto any remaining hope left, teaching the reader that maybe it's not always best to follow your dreams. Well, this took longer than expected for a simple joke video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I still made it somewhat entertaining while also being somewhat informative. If you have any issues or additions, please leave a comment below. There will also be a pinned comment if needed, and hopefully it's nowhere near as long as last time. For any long-time viewers, you're probably wondering what the heck I'm doing with my channel nowadays. And I'm being real, I don't really know. I still want to animate, but honestly it takes way too long to build up sustainable growth on the quality of my animations, so I also wanted to make video essays on the side to help increase my supply of videos. And apparently that also includes dumb analysis videos like this. Having said that, I'm sorry for my content being slow so far, and I'm being honest, that's probably going to be like this for a while due to my massive workload. Anyways, thank you for your patience and continued support, especially with the previous video. Take care guys, and see you all in a bit.